geometric series. We're now looking at a list of numbers that isn't really a list, but now we're adding or subtracting them, depending if it's plus or minus. See here, this is plus or minus, this is plus or minus. So we're going to be adding or subtracting them all together. We're going to be finding the sum. But this list of numbers that we're finding the sum has to be geometric, which means there needs to be a common r. So we're multiplying by 3 or 4 or a half or something like that. It has to be common. So this is what we did last time. That was to find a term. Like if we want to find the 10th term, then we could just, well, what's our first term? What's our common ratio? 10 goes in there. But what if we want to now sum up all of those terms? And so that's where this formula comes in. So example number 1 here, find the sum of the first 8 terms. So it's good to just write down what you know. So term 1 is equal to -7. The number of terms is 8. And the common ratio r. Now the common ratio r is always done, remember, t2 divided by t1. If it was arithmetic, an arithmetic sequence or series, you would subtract them. But this is geometric, so we're dividing. 21 divided by -7, which in this case is -3, so that's our r. And what do we need for the sum formula? So we need the first term, we need our r, and then we need the number of terms. But we don't need the last term, which is kind of nice. Now, let's start. I don't see much room. I don't have much room. So Sn, I'll start by writing, actually maybe what I'll do is I'll start over here. I'll do this. Move this over. And I'll do the sum is equal to the first term times 1 minus r to the n all over 1 minus r. So the sum of the first 8 terms, so S8, is equal to the first term, -7, times 1 minus r, which in this case is -3. Now, because it's negative, I'm going to put it in brackets, okay? Because I want to make sure the exponent is going to the 3 and the negative. To the power of n, now this is 8, all over 1 minus r. And r here is a -3. Okay, so we're going to need a calculator for this, because -3 to the 8, I don't know what that is, and I don't want to multiply -3 8 times. So one thing just to keep in mind here is that this 8 is going to hit the 3, and whatever that number is, and it's also going to affect the negative, which means if there's 8 negatives, that's a positive. So this whole thing will be a positive number. But then there's another negative out there, which will then make this thing a minus. So I've got 1 minus, and then we can go -3 to the power of 8. So let's just try this here. So I'm just going to put a bracket here, -3 to the power of 8. See what that gets me. 6561. Okay, so 65661 all over 1 minus -3. So 1 plus 3, which is 4. So we've got -7 and 1 minus this. So 6,560. -6,560 all over 4. Now, just to speed up this process a little bit, I will just put this into my calculator. So -6560, just because these numbers are bigger, and I'll times that by -7, and then I'll divide that by 4. So 11,480. So 11,480. So that is the sum of the first 8 numbers. And that seems like a pretty high, like a pretty large number, but I think that's partly because these numbers are timesing by 7. They're getting bigger really, really quickly. So let's keep going here. Let's try this one. Our first term, T1 here, is 2. Our ratio, R, is -6 divided by the previous, which is 2. In this case, that's -3. And the number of terms is going to be, it said 8. So if I'm going to find the sum, Sn is equal to T1, 1 minus r to the n, all over 1 minus r. So S8 is equal to the first term, which is 2, 1 minus, and again, this r is the same, so -3, I don't know why, it just happened to be like that, to the power of 8, all over 1 minus 3. So on the denominator there, we're going to have a 1 minus 3, which is 4, and there's a 2, and then 1 minus, and then -3 to the 8. Now, I already did that. That was 6561. So I've got 2 and then -6560. So again, the same thing. And those can be simplified. I can do that trick that I've done in the past where I make this a 1 and make that a 2 to just simplify those, and -6560. And so now I just got to cut that in half. So half of 500 is 250, that's 280, so -3280. So this one at the end I didn't need a calculator, but I still did need a calculator for this part, just because it just saved me a bunch of time. Okay, so let me just zoom out here. That is just a beginning part of finding the sums, and that was relatively easy because it told us how to do this, and our r's were pretty small. They were just whole numbers like 3. But the next video I will do, they'll change it up just a little bit and make it slightly more complex.